Oh hi, my name's Mr. Artra, and welcome back to the Redstone Wetworks for another episode of Super Useful Redstone. If you look over there, you can see kind of what we're working on right now. This may seem a little bit intimidating. Look, there's a bunch of redstone right there. There's some hoppers going on. There's some comparators. Really scares some people. They're just comparators though. It's not that bad. This is your typical item sorter circuit. There's also a more compact form. However, if you know anything about redstone at all, you can see that torch there kind of gets in the way of some stuff. The way these program depends on what kind of item you're trying to sort. 16 is different from 64, right? Just, numbers. They're a little bit different, and that is the part that makes item sorters a little bit trickier. Now, in order to build one of these things, you are going to need a comparator, a repeater, a torch, a couple of hoppers, and a little bit of redstone dust per item that you're trying to sort. Each one of these is sorting one item. So just one slice here, that's for one item. To get started, I'm going to recommend that you put down the repeater very first. Because if you can see over here, once you've built a number of these sorters, because it's one slice per item, it's going to be really difficult to get down in there. So I would just recommend building from the bottom up. Now, this gold block here, that's just to kind of let you know that there is a slight difference in the footprint based on if you were building a compact circuit or a full circuit. So just keep that in mind. That gold block, it doesn't really do anything. First thing, bam, there's your redstone repeater, then a structural block and a structural block. Slap down a torch right there. That is going to be the locking mechanism for your sorting system. Then structural block, structural block, structural block, another structural block right there. Another thing you should do pretty early on is set your chest. It's good to know where you're going to have these items going. So get that in place because you're going to put a hopper right there, put a temporary block there, and then another hopper. This right here is the biggest part, right? See, the way hoppers work is they will first pull an item from above and then push an item into whatever this part is pointing at. So you can see this is pointing at nothing. So all it's going to do is pull. So this is the one we are going to program. A comparator comes off that, right? And then dust, dust, and dust, like so. There you go. This right here is done. We are done with the wiring bit, and these blocks can go. You don't need them. What we need to do is tell the hopper what we're going to be sorting. The big thing that we're trying to figure out here is, are you trying to sort a 64 stacking item or a 16 stacking item? That's going to change how much you need to put into the hoppers. Because if you look in here, what we've got is the item you're trying to sort and then any kind of item. As long as you're not going to be trying to sort that thing, you can put it in here. What I have done is I have found some cobblestone and just named it on an anvil. It costs you a level, so if you don't have a good source of XP, it can be a little expensive. But, I mean, in all honesty, by the time you're building one of these, you've probably got a good source of XP. So just don't sweat that part. I am going to sort golden carrots, right? So, because we are doing the full-size circuit, right? What we need is 44 items. So if you look in here, we've got one golden carrot and 44 of these bad boys, these sorter fill blocks. Slap that in there. Now, if you've got a couple of these, just so you can make sure that it's working, go ahead and throw 2 in there, because that will let you know when it's starting to work. So you can see 3, 4, 5, 11. Bam. And you saw it went down because it got pulled into this hopper. Now, one thing to keep in mind, you will more often than not have one of your item in here. That's just going to be the way it is. Just because of the way timing works on these, it just stays open only long enough usually to let one item through. Keep that in mind. When you're programming these, you might just put 2 of the item in there. Just, for your own sanity. Now, alternatively, if we were going to sort ender pearls in this, you can see we would need 38 because 16 puts out a different power level than 64. It's just a little bit different, and it just has to do with like maths and fractions and stuff. Don't worry about that too much. Just this is the thing you need to worry about. For sorting 16 stacking items, you need 38 sorter fill. That's going to be 2 10s and 2 9s. So we come over here, pump in our ender pearl, and then there's a 10, there's a 9, there's a 9, a 10. There you go. So if we grab another one here, you can see sorted, and it's down in that hopper there. That is the biggest part of item sorters. Really, it's not that complicated. I know every redstone person says that when they're building one of these and they're showing one of them. It's not that complicated. But really, it's really not. It's just a matter of remembering these numbers here. And I will kind of hang out for a second in case you need to get those numbers. There you go. There's the 64 stacking items, the 16 stacking items. Numbers are slightly different, and whether or not you're building compact or full size is another thing. So just keep that in mind. You may have seen in a recent video that certain popular YouTubers may have put out in which they decided that they needed to make it as expensive as possible. Let me just show this real quick so I can show you what you should not do. Now, as I recall, it was something to the tune of, it was like 41, 41 of the item you're trying to sort in the first slot, and then like 1. Right? Is that it? Or was it? It was something. Oh, here we go. Yeah, don't do it this way. Please don't do it this way, because that is just going to be so much more expensive than necessary. Yeah, it's just 1 in these and 41. Don't do that. Look at me. Look at me. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. No, it's a bad idea. It's needlessly expensive, and you just put more in these slots. Just no. I watched that, I looked at it, and it made my heart hurt a little bit. If you look right here, this is what an example of bulk storage with an item sorter. And the only difference here, really, is you're just putting more hoppers down here. You just 1 more hopper vertically per storage chest. And what this is going to do, because as I mentioned, they pull and then push. All hoppers will do this in succession. So you end up with them storing from the bottom up every time. So yeah, I tested this out a little bit. I mean, in case you're one of those people who are stacked and you just rolling in the diamonds and whatnot, you probably want one of these, right? Your bulk diamond storage. One last thing, just for a complete sorter system, you may have noticed that there was this line above the sorter circuits. This is just your typical hopper tube. Basically, you're just pulling items out of a source, moving it across the sorters, and then you have an exit here. You can see if I put in, let's say, diamond. Let's say I put in 64 diamonds. You can see it's going to go right past the emeralds, right? And go directly into here. And you can see they're sorting currently. If I put something else, something that necessarily isn't part of it, like these golden carrots, if I put them in there, they're going to sail through the hopper tube, not go into any of these, and instead end up in our handy dandy overflow box. Essentially you could put any storage thing here at all. You could put a barrel, you could put a shulker box, chest, it doesn't particularly matter. It's just where items that are not being sorted are going to end up. And I highly recommend, if you're using a system like this, pay very close attention to what's going into here. Again, if you put whatever you're using to fill your sorters for the programming purpose, if you put that in here, it will break everything. Your first hopper will dump, and you will end up with absolutely everything in your very first chest. So, that just very important. Do not use your sorter fill. Do not try and sort it. That will end poorly for you. This is another reason why I tend to name my sorter fill on an anvil. It just makes things a lot simpler. So that's going to be all for this tutorial. Item sorters, as I mentioned, really are not that complicated. And again, everyone says this, but it's because it's true. You just have to remember how to do a few things. Thank you very much for watching. It's been awesome. If you liked what you saw, please be sure to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell button too, because that'll let you know when I posted something. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Mr. Artra, and I will be seeing you later. Deuces.